Welcome back to another Bellows Blades review, and today we are going to be looking at a knife that is, no, it is not a Riot knife. It is a much cheaper knife, specifically from Sencut. So this is a Sencut Serene, and this knife's been around for a while. It's a decent budget option, and I just want to take a minute to kind of look over it. I've had this for a while, and just wanted to kind of give some comments and thoughts on this knife. So when you're looking for a knife in the roughly $50 or down range, a really good option is either Civivi or Sencut. So what I've noticed is it seems like We Knives, which is the parent company, makes their high-end knives, right? These are the ones that are going to be several $100s. And then you go down to, it seems like Civivi is kind of the mid-tier. And then you have Sencut, which is their budget version. So originally it seemed like Civivi was more of a budget option as well, but those knives have become more popular and gone up a little bit in price. So now you're getting basically the same quality really in the Sencut knives, but just this is their budget line. And so the Serene is a great option if you're looking to get a button lock knife, decent quality and material build quality, all for under $50. So right now, I do think this one's running right around $47. You can pick it up on sale sometimes cheaper than that, but right now that's about what you're looking at. And the first thing that grabs you about this knife is this color. So you can get it in different colors, but this, of course, is a very bright, vibrant blue, which I love. As someone who's colorblind, bright blues always appeal to me because it's one of the few colors that is bright enough that it looks bright to me. So I do like the look of the bright blue. This is again the Sencut Serene. The Serene does come with a D2 steel blade. This is just under 3.5 inches. I believe it's supposed to measure at 3.48. And of course I can verify that real quick. And we are looking at, yeah, I mean, it looks like it's pretty much exactly right at 3.5 inches. So that makes sense. Overall, it's just a little over 8 inches with a aluminum handle that's a little over 4.5. But the main appeal of this knife really is, I think it's two things, but the first one that grabs you is the button lock, right? So button locks are a very fidgety lock, right? So if you're somebody who likes to just open and close a knife, kind of fidget or play with that, the button lock is a great option for that. So this is, for a budget option, this is very, very solid button lock. It's smooth, it's easy to engage and disengage. It's fun to open and close. So that is kind of one of the things you're looking for in a button lock. And so I think this is a great entry-level version of a button lock knife. You're still getting decent quality. You've got the D2 steel, which of course is kind of a mid-tier steel. It's a good workhorse steel though. It's going to hold an edge long enough for most tasks. It's not that terribly hard to sharpen, a little harder than some steels, but not terribly hard to sharpen, holds an edge for a decent amount of time. Really, the only downside is it is really what you can almost classify as a semi-stainless steel. So D2 is not really stainless. You got to watch, leaving it wet, which you really don't want to do with any knife, or fingerprints and stuff on the blade that could cause some corrosion. It will eventually start to tarnish or rust if you don't take care of the blade. But again, you really should take care of any blade, whether it's stainless or not. Just know that while some stainless steels, you can be a little bit more lax with that, you can't really do that with D2. All that being said, more than likely, if you're watching the video, you're familiar with D2 steel. It has kind of more or less become the go-to steel in the budget knife category. If you want a decent steel, but you still want to keep the price down, D2 seems to be the way to go, and a lot of knife manufacturers are doing exactly that. The other thing that kind of jumps out about this knife is that you have two ways of deploying the blade. You've got the flipper tab on the back, which is of course extremely common in knives right now, but you kind of still have the older school method of the thumb stud. So if you're somebody who maybe flipper knives are not your thing, you prefer having the ability to use the thumb stud, you've got that option here as well. So having both, again, as I've always said, more options is always a good thing for the consumer. So I like the fact that it has both. But if you're somebody who really likes flippers, you can use it. If you prefer the thumb stud, you got the option as well. The other thing you're going to notice is that the pocket clip is reversible. So I'm going to go ahead and close that, and we're going to take a look at that. So you do have the ability to put it on either side, which is always nice, but it is only tip-up carry. You can't It's not a four-way reversible, it's only two-way. The other thing you will notice is while the screws are flush set, which is a nice touch, it's a good thing that those screws don't stick out past the actual clip. You will also notice though that the clip itself is not inset at all. It's not flush mounted with the handle, which I think is a nice touch. Some people actually don't like that though, because then on the side where you don't have it, you have a little indent, and some people don't like that. So that's kind of a personal preference. I do prefer for it to sit flush. I'm also somebody who doesn't really care so much about the reversible though. So for me, it'd be fine just to have it on the one side and not have anything on the other side. But as I said, options are a good thing. So a lot of people like to be able to switch it, especially obviously if you're left-handed, you want that option on there. So all that being said, guys, as far as just, you know, is this a decent knife for the price, right? So right now, like I said, you can pick it up for $47. Yes, I think this is a decent knife for that price point. I do wish it was about $10 cheaper. I think this knife, especially being the budget version from We Knives overall, the Sencut budget brand, I think this would just really appeal to me a lot more at $35 to $36 instead of $47. Of course, I guess you could always say it would even appeal more at $25, right? But I think realistically, this knife could be sold at $35 to $36, and I think that price point would work a little bit better right now. With the pricing of what knives are right now, I think it would appeal more to a lot of people. However, that being said, at $47, it's still a decent price. It's still a good knife for that price. So I can't really complain too much about that. As far as size goes, comparison-wise, I always like to pull out the Paramilitary 2 because that is a knife a lot of people are familiar with. You're going to see that these are pretty similar size knives. So you're looking at just about the same size in the blade and the handle. So that's obviously going to be true as well. Another well-made higher-end knife is the Benchmade Griptilian. About the same size there as well. You can see that the blade is a little bit longer on the Serene than it is on the Griptilian. Now, one of the reasons that I like this knife is because it actually reminds me of another higher end knife that I have, which is a ProTech. And as you can see, now the ProTech has a darker blue. It's not quite as light or quite as bright, but that blue smooth aluminum handle with the button lock, in this case, this one's an automatic. It just really reminds me a lot of this knife. And I really do like this knife a lot. So it's kind of nice to have a cheaper version that reminds me of it. So if I'm going to carry a knife and kind of beat it up a little bit, I don't feel as bad about beating up a $47 knife as I do a ProTech. So, but anyway, I do still obviously really love this knife with the automatic function on it. And it's just, this is a great knife. But that's not the one we're talking about today. We're looking at the Sencut Serene. So all that being said, real quick, guys, I want to kind of wrap this up. I didn't want to make a real long video on this. It is a budget, entry-level, everyday carry style knife. Is it a good one? Yes. For what it is, if that's what you're looking for, you don't have, I mean, you're starting to see more, actually. Honestly, I will say you're starting to see a lot more of these. But for a long time, you didn't really have a lot of button lock options in the entry-level budget category. And so this was one of the first of those, and I think that was a good thing because ever since you kind of saw this come out, and I'm not saying it was the first, but it's one of the first ones, I believe. And once you started seeing that door was kind of open. Now you see a lot more of the button locks in the budget category. And I think the button lock is a fun lock to have. So I'm glad that there's options out there for people who don't want to drop a whole lot of money, but still want to see what the button lock's all about. So my recommendation, absolutely, if you can pick one of these up, I think it's going to be a great knife for you. I think you're going to enjoy it. There is nothing with the blade or build quality that would put you off. Everything is right and tight. You have a perfectly centered blade. You have a hidden lanyard pillar there if you are somebody into lanyards. You've got the reversible pocket clip. You've got the button lock. You've got the flipper tab. You have the thumb stud. Lot of functionality packed into a $47 package. Aluminum handle scale, so you've got good quality material there. Of course, you know, titanium would be great, but you're not getting that at this price point. So aluminum is absolutely acceptable. In fact, it's more than acceptable at this price point. It's actually a really good deal. D2 steel blade, great deal. So overall, guys, absolutely recommend it. If you like the look of it, of course, aesthetics are always a big part of buying a knife. If you like the overall look of it, but you're looking for a button lock specifically, this is a great place to look. Highly recommend the Sencut Serene.